Hello and welcome to the FMCC webinar, Well Brought Up KPIs Don't Bite, Train Your KPI for Process Improvement, presented by David Reynolds. Everyone has been muted for audio quality, and this webinar is being recorded. If you do have any questions during the webinar, please type them into the chat box, and we'll go over them during the Q&A portion at the end of the webinar. I do want to let everyone know the FMCC provides many services to the FM community, such as Ask the Expert, Find a Consultant, Locate a Speaker, and online educational resources. You may find more information at their website, fmcc.ifma.org. We'd also like to take this time to thank our sponsors. And also, my name is Joshua Amos. I am the IFMA Components Liaison. And again, our presenters, David Reynolds. And also want to remind you that at the end of the webinar, there will be a post-webinar survey. I do encourage you to take that survey as the FMCC board does review those results after each webinar. Our presenter is my good friend, David Reynolds. He is an FM consultant based in Mississippi in the United States. His involvement in in the FM profession arose around out of work in engineering and operations. And at this time, I want to go ahead and turn this over to David.
Thanks, Joshua. Well, hello facility managers everywhere, or at least in a lot of different places. This is David Reynolds, a member of the Facility Management Consulting Council. I have a keen interest in integrating FM into the strategic core of every organization that facility managers serve, so that our work may best reflect what the organization wants to be and to become. That is, to work with the organization mission and vision in ways contoured by the culture and values of each organization. Measuring performance sounds like a good way to get yourself, your staff, your contractors, and your colleagues in trouble, but maybe not. So settle in for a little while and enjoy the webinar. Next slide, Joshua. The purpose of measurement is improvement. First off, regardless of some bad experiences you may have had and anecdotes that you may have heard, KPIs don't need to be trouble. Good KPIs are clear about their content, their origins, and their purposes. They don't take undue time to gather and report, only to go into a file unused and forgotten or used for the wrong purposes. The purpose of key indicators is not to find someone to blame or judge when things don't go right, because KPIs should be part of the work process, defined in systematic, objective ways to gauge results. Indicators of performance and their close relatives, key indicators of risk, KRIs, should be homegrown and well brought up. That is, deliberately and methodically selected, designed, developed, tested, applied, and of course improved. Sound like a lot of work? Well, it's not really. Creating and using KPIs and KRIs is a well-developed area of practice. So let's dive in. We'll start with a little history, keeping in mind that the past is not always past. Next slide. Well, here's the scene. There's a problem, something new to do, or an added operational responsibility, or a project, or something that has gone along okay, but now isn't, or now is seen in a bad light, which can amount to the same thing. Management says take action, get it done. Maybe the issue is long overdue strategic objective from the organization's real estate plan, or new opportunity or commitment, or non-compliance, or an imminent safety hazard. Anyway, you get after it. You have an expert, maybe yourself or someone on your staff, or consultant or a colleague, or advisor close by, and you turn to one or more of these people with your problem. You brief others, staff, contractors, department heads, management. The change is coming, even if you're not entirely sure what to do, when, how, and with whom. But you follow what the experts tell you, and get to work with energy, dedication, and with force where needed. This is a firm, decisive, and true approach. What could go wrong? Next slide. Well, to start with, collectively and individually, up and down the food and supply chains, everyone understands what you're doing. All are enthusiastic and in agreement, right? Yes, of course. Well, probably not. Next slide. After a while, you're in a fight. Oh, it feels like a fight for satisfactory results. Why didn't you see this coming? Oh well, stuff like this happens in FM. So we'll fix it, or we'll duck it if we have to. Next slide. So let's take this in three parts. First, we'll see that the backdrop for performance measurement is your organization's engagement with strategy. Strategic measurement is the only suitable setting for performance measurement. The level of maturity in strategic management can be probed readily using self-examinations to predict how well prepared your organization is to measure performance and to gain the benefits from measuring. That sounds reasonable, but it's not so obvious. You might be tempted to say, let's just go out and get some KPIs and not fuss with this. Why not? Well, the approach hasn't worked before, and it won't now. There's a popular saying that goes something like this: insanity is doing the same thing the same way over and over and thinking that you'll probably get better results. So in part one, we'll visit strategic management. Second, we'll have a look at how to go about making and using KPIs. Caution, this won't enable you to go back to the office, call in the staff, and nail some valuable measures, but it will give you an overflight to get an impression of the terrain so that you can come back and look closer. Third, KPIs are widely used in different types of organizations, all sectors and sizes. Our views as FMs are toward the C-suite, toward our staffs and contractors, and toward everyone else who experiences the built environment that we manage. So I'll offer some points to emphasize when measuring performance in FM. Next slide. What can you take away from this webinar, besides an overall better informed and positive attitude toward KPIs and their value? First, key measurements are not about blame and judgment. They're about finding what and when to improve and making the indicated improvements to get better results. Second, strategic management is the right environment for measuring performance. Third, we create performance indicators methodically. There's impressive practical work already done in this area. I'll mention 2 active contributors in my acknowledgments at the end. Last, we will look at KPIs and KRIs as routine parts of doing work. These measures yield clear, useful information, easily, inexpensively, and at any time. Next slide. So get comfortable. Here we go. Next slide. Does your organization use strategies? Can FM be confident that we know and are responsive to the strategies of the whole organization? Where do strategies come from? An organization's mission, usually just a few lines, informs a vision in top management. Knowing and sharing a vision at the top level brings strategic themes. Strategic themes inform strategies to guide objectives, leading to results and to outcomes at every level. Results can be related to one another by cause and effect, or occurring together, or conflicting possibly, or coming behind or ahead of one another. Alignment means doing things that cause results that support strategies, and only those things. Doing the right things is as essential as doing things right. With strategic alignment, we do the right things. How does any organization, large or small, manage to do the right things right? There's a large body of knowledge in this area. Various strategic management approaches and methods can help you know what to do and to do it better. No matter how your organization manages strategy, several elements will be reliably present. Next slide. A foundation. Strategic management is the foundation for measurable performance. If you don't know how work going on contributes to the strategy of your business unit, which contributes to the strategy of the organization, and so on, why measure? What value would information have for purposes of improvement? Strategic management is the foundation of performance management. Balance. Strategic management systems balance flows of resources and work in an organization from several perspectives. Each perspective calls for commitment of resources. Learning and capabilities prepare the way and provide the tools for internal processes that an organization performs, adapts, or improves. In turn, internal processes bring fulfillment for customers, clients, and the community, and so on. This, in turn, assures financial results. Strategic management involves, among much else, balancing capability, process, customer, and financial perspectives. Alignment. Performance and performance measurement also depend on alignment. Everyone pulling in the same direction and knowing how their work is contributing to and can improve results. Strategic management incorporates measurement as an integral part. I am particularly enthusiastic about the balanced scorecard for its organization around the perspectives just mentioned. A balanced scorecard can serve in circumstances where groups of different sizes, knowledge, cultures, even values must convene and work together toward objectives. Sounded like FM? Building and maintaining the scorecard involves coordinating roles and accountability and defining results to measure. This is worthwhile work to do in the way that the balanced scorecard translates high-level strategies to objectives, to results to obtain at all levels. Measurement is essential to managing a balanced scorecard. Next slide. The IFMA balanced scorecard. Of course, there's a wealth of information and practice behind this short announcement by IFMA, but you get the idea. Specific goals and objectives must support the mission and vision. Everyone's work is clear in its importance. Each small picture is part of a big picture, which is part of a bigger picture. In IFMA's balanced scorecard, measures are integral to specific and calculable goals. Next slide. So why measure? Well, let's focus on what measurement can contribute. Measurement is about continuous improvement. If we can measure a result in sensible ways that we understand, and assuring that the result is tied to a process in our sphere of influence, we can potentially improve the results, depending on priorities, the process itself, and what would be required to bring improvement. A well-designed measure already contains guidance for reporting, interpreting, actions to take, and how to set targets. In FM, our sphere of influence is broad: internal processors, contractors, service providers, planning, budgeting, purchasing, managing operations, emergency responses, recovery, and much more. Besides, we must communicate and promote these activities and motivate staff, contractors, and ourselves. Finally, we should celebrate goals obtained. Measurement serves us in these ways. Next slide. Measurement strategy. Measurement is itself a process based on strategies. Measuring ongoing results is an element of measurement strategy. Our strategy for measurement in Part 2 will be methodical, but here's a look in advance. When you develop or redevelop a work process to meet a strategic objective, think about measurement right from the beginning. A measurement must answer 3 questions. How is the process performing? Are the results getting better, staying the same, or getting worse? How did we get to this point, and what do we do now? Notice that last one. How did we get here, and what do we do now? Key measures should balance leading and lagging indicators. Knowing how we arrived at the level where we are now and what we need to do now tells us how to manage and how. This seems elementary, but it's easily missed in some methods of reporting and interpreting. In project management, tools like Critical Path help to plan what to do and to monitor. But in operations, we don't always have the degree of planning that a project manager has. Balancing leading and lagging indicators offers opportunities to improve continuously and incrementally. We'll have a closer look in Part 2. Next slide. So what's key to measure? Key measurements support decision-making based on tracking performance over time. As a way of understanding what is a key measurement, let's look at a few indicators that are not, in most cases, key. Inputs and activities, as opposed to results and outcomes, are often only loosely linked to results that your organization wants to achieve. Avoid them as key indicators. A measurement that only uses lagging indicators is limited for purposes of improvement. You can't fix the past. You need to know how results are trending and what to do next. So show a bias for leading indicators. A measurement not clearly defined, traceable, documented, repeatable, and owned by someone isn't accountable in use, and it won't be trusted. A key indicator should not be any of these. What is key to measure depends on context. Highest level results go directly to the strategic themes of an organization. Results from financial and customer perspectives support these strategic themes. In turn, work viewed from an internal process perspective causes results that underlie customer and financial outcomes. Finally, results obtained from perspective finally, results obtained from the perspective of organizational capacity, knowledge, and capability support internal processes. From each perspective, key indicators support critical decision-making through tracking performance over time. Next slide. Validity has two aspects. We can't measure the right things if it isn't clear what's right to measure, and when we do, we must measure well. Let's first consider measuring well. Say that we have a convenient measure, easy to obtain, carefully documented, well understood, and clearly reported, and coming from an accountable source. All that we can say at this point is that the measure is true unto itself, not that it furnishes key information. This idea is sometimes referred to as internal validity. A good measure is valid internally, but that's not all. Does the measure strongly serve a key purpose? That is it valid externally as well? Does it link positively, if in stages, to top-level themes and objectives? Does it reliably show whether a change in work methods or conditions makes a difference? We can obtain valid measurements only when top management, top-tier strategic themes, and objectives are clear and translated to every level, cascaded like a waterfall, with work and results defined so that we can create measurements to assess performance and thus be ready to improve. Next slide. Measurement results tell us how well we're doing and what to do, if anything, as a consequence. Hopefully things have gone well. People appreciate recognition for contributing to a good result. For the work process and focus, the cycle of measure, making changes, and repeating should bring continuous improvement. Performance measurements done well keep people excited because it means a chance to innovate in areas of work that they know best. Next slide. Is your organization ready to measure performance? Before we discuss forming and using KPIs specifically, let's have a word about organizational readiness. Culture, values, and management approaches differ across organizations. Willingness, abilities, and habits to trust strategic measurement with its systematic approaches and capabilities to measure, analyze, report, and take appropriate actions based on data vary from organization to organization, from no demonstrated inclination all the way to improving continuously. Diagnostics and self-assessments can help an organization start or continue with performance measurement. It can be important to show a small success right from the beginning to hold people's interest in measurement. So go slow and easy at the start, maybe get some help. In the acknowledgments, I'll cite a couple of sources that might be helpful. Next slide. You still there? So now we'll go about looking at performance measurement itself. We'll make use of the ideas in the previous part, focusing on a few particulars that crop up as an organization learns to measure performance and act on their findings. Next slide. We measure key indicators over time to tell us how results are going and what to do, if anything, to improve. But how do we know whether random variations present in a process are causing the results that we observe, or at least contributing strongly? Next slide. A control chart can reveal, to a well-understood level of confidence, whether measurements fluctuate because of something that we can identify. Hopefully, if results are getting better, it's something that we did to improve performance. The chart shown is an XMR chart. X stands for a measurement. MR stands for moving range of that measurement over time. The X value is on the vertical axis. In time, X will vary for any number of reasons, some known to us and some not detectable. The jagged blue line shows the variance of the measurement in time as time progresses from left to right. Until about time 20, this might be 20 weeks, months, years, and so on, quarters, what have you, the blue line jumps around within a range, but its overall level remains about as shown by the black line. The red lines show the probable range due to uncontrolled random variation for the period shown. Something happens around week 20 that's changed performance. After 20, assuming it's 20 weeks, let's say, the range of variation is smaller, so the red lines are closer together, But even more significant, the central black line is changed level. We know that something has changed. Hopefully it's something that we did, or at least that we know about. We won't discuss control charts in detail or their methods, except to point out that from an analytical point of view, control charts are much superior to all other illustrations. Modern dashboards offer a host of pretty illustrations, charts, numbers, and so on. Give strong preference to control charts. Next slide. So now on to data. KPIs rely on objective measurement, say counting versus an authority like the count shown here. Not that the count doesn't add value. He or she probably has useful skills and experience, or controls resources, or dresses well. But royalty, celebrities, and even experts are not always objective the way that counting is. Counting is but one objective measure. Another might be chosen, one that better fits the indicator that you wish to use. People who do the work have well-guided support should have a substantial share in creating KPIs for their own work processes, using objective measures that they understand. Remember, give preference to leading indicators because they serve the essential purpose of continuous improvement. In a culture of position, experts, uncertainty, politics, and gossip, the meaning of measures and the reasoning behind them and what actions to take cannot be clear. The expert, top management, or the count doesn't necessarily have to fully explain. Of course, all organizations have politics, gossip, uncertainty, and so on, but as a basis for decision support, let's keep things simple with objective measures to report, interpret, set targets, and improve results. Next slide. About results. Material, organization, personnel, training, money, and so on that we put into work isn't necessarily closely tied to the outcomes that we obtain. These are inputs to work process, not results. In the work pictured, wood, paint, fastenings, tools, protective clothing, safety equipment, and so on are all expenses and inputs. Preparing surfaces, making repairs, containing dust or noise, and so on are activities. Both inputs and activities are necessary for results, but they're not always strong indicators of results. From a performance point of view, we seek results that directly lead to outcomes, interim or end outcomes. Measurements such as value of the work produced so far versus budget, completion of a major element of work versus schedule. These are results of work underway, whether the job is large or small. The same result can be said for ongoing FM programs, such as the use of energy or water or predictive maintenance. Inputs and actions usually give weak measures, but indicators of work completed toward results can yield strong measures. Next slide. Well, here's where we get to the not biting part, right? Weasel words. In the previous slide, we learned to use inputs and actions sparingly and carefully, if at all, because they're only suggestive of results. Weasel words, okay. In choosing measures, be brutally exacting and brief with language. Words like improve, quality, decrease, and so on are useful at the strategy level, but they do not define a measurement. Keep saying, what does this mean to yourself and your colleagues when formulating and naming a measurement. About 3 to 5 words should be enough for a KPI name. The documentation, however, will be longer to assure exact definition of what, how, why, when, and who is tied to this key measure. A high-level result, such as transport crude oil safely by rail, might be measured at the operations level using indicators like number of reported mishaps and or near mishaps per time, per distance, or of the quantities involved, or of the people and interests affected, or toxicity of the spilled oil, or combinations of these that connect on a results map to the goal of safe transportation. One goal needs just one measurement if the measurement is well formed. Measurements may be grouped, normalized, weighted by importance, and then aggregated as one, as long as their origin and derivation are clear. Does the prospective measurement gauge a result specifically related to a goal? If not, go back and work some more on the measurement. Measures should be feasible and strong. You can compare prospective indicators in this way, scoring for strength and feasibility. Strong measures positively inform you about the result desired and align with the strategy. Feasible measures are obtainable without delay or without undue cost or trouble. Next slide. Commitment. Measurement requires commitment, especially at the leadership level, to be effective in use. You ask, well, you signed off on this, and you receive the reply, I can't remember, I signed a lot of things. Sign-off is not necessarily buy-in or commitment. No problem derails performance measurement and continuous improvement faster than casual participation, by management especially, than neglect or forgetting afterward. Next slide. Targets can bring improvement. Targets can help to bring improvement. Target setting is a reasoned, deliberate process based on up-to-date information. To set targets, we might consider a time series baseline or benchmarks, or performance level required to support a corporate goal, or a stretch target that would reveal undiscovered capacity in the organization performing the work. Targets are not set in stone for the most part. We review and adjust, communicating and collaborating along the way to adjust targets and find new targets to reach. Next slide. So, still there? Let's wrap up with a few remarks on using performance measurements in FM. Next slide. Culture and values influence measurement. In a culture of performance measurement, FM has access to the objectives from top management and business units that our facility work serves and supports, and from the facility staff and teams. In areas such as project and risk management, compliance, health and safety, business continuity, operations and maintenance, communications, leadership, finance, real estate and development, and others. All of these are tied up in the culture of an organization. A strong, well-practiced measurement culture can bring welcome clarity to FM and its large span of stakeholders. Next slide. Remain alert and in touch with organization strategies. Communications and relationships are always core FM considerations. In an organization that measures and improves performance, maintaining a close and complete correspondence between organization strategies and FM strategies is essential. Fortunately, it's also possible if the FM keeps close ties to the C-suite and strategic planning and management takes place there, or with a strategic management office if the organization has one. Next slide. Keep up with resources and risks. SWOT is a convenient tool to share with staff and colleagues to keep up with influences on FM. While performance measurement informs management of selected work, you can't measure everything, right? And acknowledge risks, SWOT takes a wide view of the dynamic operating environment within and outside of your organization. The principle of strengths and weaknesses applied against opportunities and threats is a useful one, easy to communicate and update. By the way, note that opportunities is misspelled in the graphic with one P missing. The authors may have missed an opportunity for process improvement, or possibly they made just this one spelling mistake. A control chart might help, but maybe we don't have time to measure. If spelling is a key result leading to the viewer satisfaction, we probably ought to. I guess it isn't. Anyway, I like the graphic. Next slide. A social perspective is essential. In IFMA and FMCC, collaboration is a main theme this year, one that fits well with performance measurement. When developing a new measurement or changing an existing one, post it in a display area, like an exhibit in a gallery, complete with the result and the measures and how the result is related to other results and the goals supported and actions contemplated. Post complete documentation, including description, intent, how the measure is calculated, reported, and interpreted, and the responses that it'll bring, and who owns it and maintains it. Make post-it notes or visitor's book available so that anyone can leave comments. And be sure to respond to each one with actions taken. Hang out at the gallery and talk. You'll get better measurements and much better buy-in. When I visited the Toyota assembly plant in Northeast Mississippi last year, our guide proudly showed how process improvement takes place there, with nooks in production areas where teams can post improvement concepts, receive feedback, and generate further ideas, then take action to try something out or to make a change if that's their decision. Next slide. Who implements? Performance measurement engages staff in strategy and results. KPIs provide opportunities for individual FM staff and teams to take part in bringing results tied to strategy and to have the satisfaction of strong cause and effect linking from their own work to results that the organization desires to have as a whole. What could be better at any level of function than knowing that what you and your teammates do figures in explicit ways in the results obtained by the whole organization, and that you can monitor and improve your results? This is empowerment at work. And FM is rich with opportunities to discover, plan, and implement performance measures. Even small organizations now have staff tasked with strategic management and will help your organization develop strategic measurement. Next slide. So what else can KPIs do? Key risk indicators, KRIs. The same approach of rigor and objective clarity that we use for KPIs can be applied to recognizing, characterizing, and modeling to develop key indicators of risk. KRIs are useful to set triggers and key parameters that can signal that mitigation may be called for. This requires, of course, understanding and tracking risks. I'll address modeling and making FM decisions involving risk in a future webinar. Projects, also called initiatives. KPIs can be of value for strategic initiatives, projects, as an overlay to multiple ongoing measures employed in project management. KPIs convey cause and effect linkages and results of the project into the organization external to the project, and can enable FM to work with the project manager to summarize project performance in a way that can be reported to upper management in familiar, brief format. The KPI methodology works well with any representation of strategy at all organizational levels and across business units, departments, and specialties. Widely used diagrams such as input, process, output, and the resulting outcome, that's the logic model, cause and effect diagrams, for example, the fishbone or Ishikawa diagram, or process flow diagram, such as swim lane, so called because the lane is the part of the organization that takes the action shown. All of these adapt well to key performance and can provide useful insights. Acknowledgements. Next slide, sorry. I'd like to acknowledge that my ideas and concepts of measurement are strongly influenced by Stacy Barr, developer of the Pump Performance Measure Blueprint, and also by the Balanced Scorecard Institute and their KPI consulting practices. However, it's a rich literature in this area, and there's plenty to be found. Certainly be happy to help out in any way that I can in that regard. Next slide. So back to our objectives. With respect to the first, key measurements are not about blame and judgment. They're about finding what to improve, doing so, and measuring the results. Second, strategic management is the right environment for measuring performance. Absent strategic management, you don't have a firm basis for key measures. Third, we create performance indicators methodically. There's impressive practical knowledge already gained in this area by a large number of people and organizations. Last, we will look at KPIs and KRIs as routine parts of doing work. These measures can yield clear, simple, useful information, easily, inexpensively, at any time. Next slide. So, opening it up to questions and discussion at this point.
Yeah, we have a couple questions that came through. Give me just a second.
Okay.
So, do you think there is a danger that KPIs are applied blindly on some projects because that's the way we always measure? If so, how can we make them more project or facility specific?
Right. It is definitely a danger. And what's missing in those cases is a foundation of strategy. There are, of course, plentiful measurements employed as KPIs, but they really need to meet the criteria that I presented. Those criteria won't be present unless there's an underlying strategy. In a project, the PM processes that we all learn as facility managers work well for internal purposes, but they're not necessarily the best reporting for senior management. KPIs designed over the top of the project, and especially the reporting format, can be very helpful. But again, we don't want to fly blind, and not flying blind means flying in bad weather, and that means instruments, and we need a foundation for that purpose. Does that help? I hope. Sorry, it's kind
right. He says yes, it helps. Says, how can technology help us in recording KPIs more effectively?
Right. The dashboard, to begin with. Well, technology can actually help in a great number of ways. Communication clearly is one, even though I champion the use of a gallery with pasted notes and that sort of thing. Communication in our era is strongly dependent, of course, on electronic means. I think that let's talk about dashboards for a minute. Dashboards are a rich area now in products offered to FMs and services offered to FMs. They are pretty Christmas trees, but they're not necessarily helpful without careful development of what you're presenting. I've seen some very impressive, simple formats to go to top management. As far as the internal use of dashboards, they're abundant. They can be abundantly helpful to the facility manager herself or himself. But as far as reporting out, interpreting, and taking actions, they really do take some attention. So technology C, but added technology also.
Excellent. Thanks. And then we have this, is there merit in applying KPIs both ways? For example, we measure performance based on service quality. What about client performance or the effective use of the building by occupiers?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question, and it actually the balanced scorecard perspectives contain the expectations, the needs of our clients, of anyone concerned with the built environment, actually. So, for example, in let's think about the area of contractor management, because that's near and dear to our practice. It's necessary to accommodate, as you well know from negotiating, the perspectives of both sides. So now let's get further out to users of our facilities, to the clients and customers of our organization, and so on. Same applies. Balanced scorecard does allow for their perspectives, and in fact, I think it's quite reasonable to seek participation from that quarter in some way. Go ahead.
Great, thank you. It says, and then how do you decide what the best KPI measures are?
Actually, you probably never arrive at the very best one, but basically, let's go back to strength and feasibility. If the measure is a strong measure, that is, it genuinely shows an influence on the result, then that's probably a good candidate, providing that it's feasible, providing that it's reasonable expense to obtain, that it can be quickly obtained, and that not a lot of delay is involved in its processing, preferably not at all. So external validity that I mentioned, that is the extent to which the measure really shows the result, and the feasibility of the measure figure strongly. I'd again refer back to the idea of a results map. It ought to be possible to map through cause and effect, occurrence together, lead lag, this sort of thing, how each result contributes to higher results and those to higher results still. If your measure is strongly associated with results, you're probably on the right track, provided that you can get it. Oh, by the way, don't be afraid to use a measurement for a little while and then put it aside and use other measurements. We can't measure everything all the time, and measurements are really there to serve our current needs, that is the priorities toward results that we need. Go ahead.
Great, thank you. Okay, that is all the questions we have, and we'll just go ahead and wrap this up, David. We do want to let everyone know of the upcoming FMCC webinar, Evolving FM in Saudi Arabia. It's old, it's new, and it's different. And that will be presented by Stephen Brown. That will be coming up in just a couple weeks, December 3rd. And then, as always, the FMCC does like to make everyone aware of the other councils that are out there that can be used as resources. And again, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And David, I want to thank you very much for presenting today. Great presentation.
Oh, you're welcome, Joshua. Thank you, and thank you all for participating. Joshua, you want to stay on the line a little bit?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye, y'all.
Bye-bye, everyone.